Hello beautiful beings, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. I have been doing past life regression, inner child healing, ancestral timeline healing, spirit releasement, between lives, and I sing soul sound healing light code languages as well with high sophophonic frequencies. I've been doing this work for 23 years full time, so welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, also I have so many videos I have made over the years that are still relevant now. You can scroll back to the beginning of my channel and see when I used to work on UK TV, taking members of the public and celebrities back to past lives. That was very limited in the work that I do because it was more about showing, can we prove people have lived before? It was not about what I do in private practice, and be that online or in person. It's about going into your emotional Akashic records. And what do we mean by emotional Akashic records? And as I say this, I think it is the 10th of June to, what the hell am I saying? It's the 10th. It's not. Wait 1 second. I must check the date because time is an illusion. I think that's one of the other things why we're all a bit woo-woo-woo-y over time. It's actually the 10th of July 2024, but it could be any time. You know, I tend to live in this place of just eternal being. And I think many of you might do that. And time seems to have got really wooey. And I think the time has got really wooey. And I'll explain, maybe that's where we're going. You know, I love to be spontaneous in my videos. I love to share information that is intuitively connecting with you, is going to help you heal, is going to help you evolve, is going to help you understand what's going on planet Earth right now. And within all of that, we're going to talk about past lives, time, and we're going to kind of go back to the basics maybe, because in the work that I do, like I said, I've been doing past life regression for 23 years full time. So I have seen a lot of people's past lives. I've seen a lot of people's emotional Akashic records. And I also see how powerful you are to heal. And I see how much the residue of the past lives that is not healed can affect you in the now. I also see that you can bring in the skills and gifts from other lifetimes into the now. And you can see that with young children. You know, young children never touched a musical instrument before, and yet they pick it up and they're like, you know, wow, taken aback. You're starting to see a lot of children with these skills and gifts, not always music, lots of things. So they're going beyond the time barrier. They're going into their cellular memory to bring those gifts and skills into the now. And they're bringing those skills and gifts into the now as if they were living in the past with those gifts now. But the same happens when you're living emotionally in the past to the trauma from your other lives. You know, you are living with the limiting beliefs that you had and created for yourself in those other timelines. And that can be a negative influence to you. You know, so in your conscious self, you may have been to development seminars, workshops, and they're like, yay, you can do anything. And you're like, yay, I can do anything. But the problem is the subconscious keeps destroying it or overriding your positivity. So your conscious self is really positive, but the problem is we're always at the mercy of what's running in our subconscious mind, and that is varyingly different for everybody, what is running in your subconscious. So if things are not working out in the conscious, this self, we have to go into the subconscious to see the origins of the stories. And in the way I work, what I found over the years, and of course, under the scrutiny of television and researchers, you know, I wanted to make sure that the information that you were getting was your cellular information and also was adding up. So a lot of the work I do weaves between past lives, your inner child, womb trauma, ancestral stories. We deal with looking at, is this truly your information, you know, or is it a memory that's being flashed up and it's disjointed? That can sometimes be linked to entities. I did see an article in the newspaper recently. I did an article a few weeks ago for the Daily Mail on ghosts and making it a more simple language for people to understand rather than entities, because I think that word can be quite provocative to people, but it is the truth of what is. But understanding that residual soul energy or other beings can attach to your energy field and flash up misinformation, false memory. And there is an association called the False Memory Association. I'm familiar with them. They first knocked on my door probably about 2005 when I was, you know, on television talking about all this stuff, and they had an article in the Daily Mail the other week. And because they are kind of really down on regression therapy, and to a degree, you know, I'm quite critical of regression therapists who don't use the full skill set I have. In no way do I want to train people, but I would say you need to really develop you as a therapist, and you need to not just take all the memories that come up for your client as if they're the absolute truth, because they're not. They're not. Often they could be an entity's memories, not your client's memories. They could be an ancestor's memories. If you don't have the skill set in you as a therapist to truly help your client wheel out, is this my client's cellular memory? Is it a memory from this lifetime? Is it a memory from a past life? Is it a memory of an ancestor? Or are these memories not even my clients? Maybe they've got entities, you know, deceased souls energy attached, and you might go, oh, that's too far-fetched for me. But this is the truth of what is. And until we start to embrace this, you know, we're not going to understand where distorted memories come from. And so this is why it's very important that you develop this full skill set as yourself as a therapist, and for you going to seek the help of a practitioner, therapist, you need to find somebody who has this full repertoire of skill sets. And they are few and far between, I'm sad to say. They might do one thing. They might say, well, I'm an inner child therapist. Or they might say, I'm a past life regression therapist. So sometimes they don't even say they're a therapist, they just say they do past life regression. I had a client yesterday who's seriously ill with stage 4 cancer, and she was aware of some past lives that have affected her. And she'd said she'd been to a therapist before, and I said, did they clear the trauma of those lives? And she said, no, they just facilitated me to see these memories. And I'm like, well, that's no use unless you've cleared that lifetime, the cellular memory from you. You have to do this, releasing it from your energy body, from your physical body. The emotion has to be released from your energy, you know, your energy field. So there are a lot of, I hate to say it, very bad therapists out there. And in some ways, it's not completely their fault, you know. They haven't been put under the scrutiny I had to get very good at what I did very quickly, because when I worked on television doing this, we were researching each past life or information that the client that I was regressing for television was coming up with, and we had to make sure that that information was correct. And in some cases where they said the information wasn't correct, that assisted me to perfect my skill, you know, to hone my craft. And the work that I did on television was back in 2004 to 2007. And I have honed my craft even further. I would love if people would be willing to show the minutiae detail of their regressions, but I find that not many people are open to me airing their regressions on social media, which would help people to understand, because they're deeply personal. I understand that. And you know, when we did it with the members of the public, it was tightly edited, you know, 2-hour regression that I do with a private client, which is how long it would be if you came to see me in person and we did a regression, it would be 2 hours. If you were coming and we were filming it, maybe it would take longer. When I used to do the ones for television, they were 3 hours. We would put 3 hours aside. So to show you that would be deeply boring if you probably didn't edit it down, because some people speak very quickly in regression, some people speak very slowly, some people are processing information. So a lot is happening for you when you're in the regression. You've got your eyes closed, a lot of information is coming up, but that's not necessarily interesting to somebody watching that. So it has to be edited quite a lot. Now, the work that I do online with you is going into the emotional Akashic records. So that's why relying a lot initially on my intuitive skills and gifts to just tune in to your emotional Akashic records. And then I share the information with you, and I'm looking for people who find it easier to drop into their emotional self. Because when you tell the truth to somebody, whether it's about their childhood, whether it's about past lives, whether it's ancestral, they'll usually have a feeling or an emotion or an image that comes up in their mind that collaborates with what I'm saying, and then I guide you into where it's stored in your body, and we release that, often using sound frequency light language that's brought forth through me for you. That is part of the process. The online sessions that I conduct, I don't need to look at you, you know, I'm just tuning into your emotional Akashic records. So they are quite fast paced, and we can do those sessions in half an hour or an hour. It's interesting because the online sessions, I always say to people, I don't really think you need to do more than an hour session of that in one day. It's quite intense. So my sessions don't tend to be more than an hour for those sessions for that very reason. For also that very reason, I don't look at you. I don't need to look at you. And you certainly don't need to look at me. Because if you're looking at me all like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, you're not dropping into your emotional self. So take away the need to look into a camera, which is very synthetic. It's not natural. Allow you and give you the permission to sit in your own home or space and close your eyes and just tune into what I'm sharing with you, giving you permission that, you know, you don't need to be fearful of emotions coming up. You know, you don't need to worry about what you look like. You can ugly cry, and trust me, some clients really ugly. It's beyond ugly crying, and it brings me so much joy when I see it happen. It's like primordial howling that comes out of people, and that is deep healing, you know, real deep healing, especially when we're dealing with the sacral chakra, you know, the sexual area. If there's been trauma there, that's often primordial sound will come out, whether that was trauma in this lifetime or past life, or you're carrying the trauma of the ancestors. Often that primordial sound will come forth, and that is so powerful and so healing for you. So I cannot stress enough how you need to give yourself permission to not repress emotions. I don't care, you know, I don't care that, you know, you think, oh, I don't want you to see me cry. I don't want you to hear me sniveling and crying. I do. And I know that that is your deepest soul healing when you let that happen for yourself. You know, so much of what we've been programmed with as a child is to not show emotion, not show our vulnerability. And yet, in many cases, our vulnerability is our strength. So you need to reprogram your mind to see that your vulnerability is your strength. And I often see people who are extremely ill, like my client yesterday, you know, and she's tried the herbs, but she hasn't really gone into changing the diet. She hasn't gone into healing her emotional self. And it is much better if you don't leave it till it's an advanced stage. But, you know, I came to this work from reading a book that my dad brought to me. I used to have polycystic ovaries, and they used to grow and pop all the time. And I never ever did any medical intervention on it. I would have ultrasounds every 3 months, and they'd say you have collapsed cell tissue. This was back in probably, I don't know, let me try and think now, maybe 2002, a very, very long time ago. 2001 even, maybe. And my dad brought this book that had been in my childhood bookcase my whole life. And it was called The Hidden Power of Vibration by Harvey Day. It was written in the 1970s. It's got a yellowy orange cover, and it has a blue writing on the front. It always stood out to me as a child. And I flicked this book open, and I was going to the hospital that afternoon to be scanned for these because they would push on my sciatic nerve. And in those days I was modeling, you know, so it was very important that I could walk. I wasn't in agony, and that I didn't blow up, and my stomach didn't blow up. And I read this paragraph in this book, and it was so powerful. It was about a woman who'd been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and they'd said to her, you need to literally go home and die. You know, that was it. And I just read this paragraph in this book, and it said, this woman turned to her husband and said, I truly forgive you of all your affairs. And with that, the cancer flew out of her body. You know, she accessed what we call divine forgiveness, you know, absolute divine forgiveness. And in my experience with these polycystic ovaries, reading that paragraph was so life-changing for me. I thought, I have to forgive everyone and everything, you know. And at that point in my life, it was only sort of, what was I, maybe 30? So I forgave everyone and everything. And this energy just flushed through my body, like whoosh, really an incredible experience of divine healing. Now, I didn't realize how much divine healing I'd experienced in that moment until I went to the hospital that afternoon, and, you know, the usual scanning me for, you know, polycystic ovaries. And when I got there, the lady said, why are you here? And I said, well, if you look at my records, you'll see, you know, I have reoccurring cysts. They grow and pop and grow and pop, because I got used to it over the years that they grow and pop, and they measure them and all that. And she said, well, you don't have any cysts. And I said, yeah, but I must have collapsed cell tissue. And she said, you have nothing. I don't know why you're here. And that was probably, what's that, 21, 23, you know, time's so wooey for me, but it's about 22, 23 years ago. And I have never had a problem since. And obviously I've gone through the menopause now, but that was it. That divine forgiveness I accessed just flew out. And I've seen that with clients, not always linked to polycystic ovaries, all kinds of ailments and illnesses that they've manifested in their physical body. When the energy they just see it flow out. Now, sometimes clients come to see me and they don't see images, they don't see events, but when I guide them to releasing things from their body, they just see it flowing out. You know, I've seen people with stuff flowing out for an hour and a half. Sometimes they're like, it's incredible, all this stuff that's coming out of me that they don't need anymore. Sometimes we need to see the stories. That's why we weave into the past lives or the inner child or the ancestral story. But it doesn't really matter if you can access that divine forgiveness and release it from your energy body. That is the healing. That's the gift that keeps giving. And that's accessing the divine forgiveness, you know, which is linked to an emotion, whether your emotion is forgiveness, bitterness, betrayal, anger, frustration, apathy, you know, whatever that emotion is for you. We are all unique. It is not the same for everybody. And I know from the vast experience that I've had that sometimes it's linked to entities, and we've talked about that, we'll talk about that further, but the cohesion of entities is always emotion. And I always have to take you back to the day the entity attached, and we heal whether it's a past life or whether it's an event from childhood, or whether it's mixed up with ancestors as well. It's complex, but it's not complicated. And you don't have to you don't need to sit at home and think you've got to figure all this out on your own. You need to understand there are people like my good self out there that we work full time doing this work. We can navigate you into healing yourself. You know, we are the biggest catalyst. We're like, in the article that I did for the newspaper the other day, I referred to myself as, you know, sometimes I call myself a soul whisperer. Sometimes I call myself a Miss Marple detective. I'm a soul detective because that's my skill set. They're the gifts and skills I have that have been bestowed upon me. And it's fairly easy and effortless for me to do this work to assist you. But I can only assist those who reach out for help and those who are willing to drop into their emotional self. And one of the best things you can do to prepare yourself and to keep doing it, to prepare yourself to drop into your emotional self, is to listen to guided meditations. Now, I have a lovely one that has existed since 2007 and it's still available. It's still the best one, taking you into your energy centers and releasing things from your energy centers. It also teaches you to go through the alpha, beta, theta, lowering your brainwave frequency, which makes it easier to access the subconscious mind. If you go to my website, there's still a chart on there that you can see on the alpha, beta, theta brainwave frequencies. With the meditation, try my free one first. Sign up for the newsletter on my website. There's a free meditation called Earth Peace Meditation. If you like the cadence of my voice in that meditation, you will very much enjoy the More Than meditation. In the More Than meditation, the longer one, you can still get a CD, you can still download it, but the cadence in my voice is no music as such. It's very much leaving space of timed silences to release things. And my voice is very softer, very gentle, guiding you into the subconscious mind, to releasing and letting things go. And the cadence of someone's voice, the tonality of the voice, is so important in your healing journey. And it's so important in my one-to-one in-person regression sessions. You know, my voice will very much change. And also on the online sessions, the voice changes to be very gentle. You know, our voices are so powerful in our healing journey, and our ability to communicate is so powerful. And, you know, we all have moments where we get upset, or, you know, we lose our balance, happens to the best of us, you know, and people need to have grace and compassion and understanding for you. And of course, people live in a house with you, they'll go, that's out of character, that's normal behavior. It's not normal behavior for you. So they have compassion and empathy for you, but you need to witness when you're pushed to the edge. And of course, external circumstances outside of you affect our emotional reaction to life and to ourselves. So we need to stay grounded. We need to connect with nature. We need to take time out for ourselves. We need to be honest with ourselves. And in our healing journey, you know, whether it's an emotional situation, whether it's a relationships, whether it's a health issue, whether it's a job, whatever it is going on in our lives, or, you know, for me personally, one of the biggest things I've found that I've had to kind of keep recentering myself. And some of you may have been through this and some of you won't, because I'm an only child of much older parents. So I have nursed my mum, as many of you know, through her leaving her physical body and her having dementia for 10 years. I have a dad who's still alive, and many of you who follow me on Facebook see me post about my dad. He's 98, he's incredible, he's still driving, you know, but he did have the years with my mum, and so in some ways it's lightened his energy. Obviously he has the sadness of being alone, not having her anymore, and that comes with a responsibility to me as well. But my intention is to create a reality where he can live at home on his his own without having to go into a care home, because that's his desire, and at the moment he's capable of that. So we go through twists and turns in our life, and everybody at some point will have to deal with an elderly relative, a loved one, or someone. And some of you haven't got to that point in your life. You know, you're at different points in your life, and you know, the journey of life takes us to these different times in our lives. And so we have to work on ourselves to stay in the highest vibrational health. And health isn't just physical health, it's emotional health. You want to be in really good emotional health. And of course, there's times when you're going to dip down and feel like I'm losing it, you know, and the menopause is obviously one of those. And I've kind of navigated that pretty well within myself. So I have so much more to share with you, but I just wanted to make a new little video updating you in 2024. I'm in my little beach chalet in Cornwall called Sea Angel. It is available for you to rent if you want to come and stay here in the beautiful Cities of Light in Cornwall. And I bought this gorgeous little cute chalet. I don't know if you can see. It is adorable, sorry. It's not letting you see all of it. It's cutesy. It's very sweet. It's 2-bedroom, doesn't look it though. I bought this, never been to Cornwall, guided meditation with myself in London. At the end, this popped up, the image of this chalet popped up outside. It's white clapperboard with baby blue windows. The message I got was, if you Google it, you'll find it. It took me 3 days. And I bought it, and that was me trusting my intuition. So, you know, if we follow that inner guidance of intuition, we have to discern sometimes whether it is our intuition or some malevolent being messing with us, guiding us into all kinds of crazy things. So this is why it's important to do the inner work. But in that instance, I was in a very high vibrational state of mind when that happened and that guidance came. So you have to discern if you're in a high vibrational state when this information comes in, then it is working for your soul's highest purpose. It might be your authentic multidimensional self. We say our higher self, but really it's our multidimensional authentic self guiding us, helping us into being the highest vibrational version of ourselves. There are benevolent beings that work in the non-physical realm, but we have to be very discerning with the information they give us. Some of them have never incarnated onto earth. They don't understand the physical density of being in a body. And that's why I see a lot of people giving their power away who are talking to beings who've not had an incarnation on earth and hanging on their every word. And we're more, sadly as a society, we're more programmed in the spiritual realms to listen to someone. And I know, because I did this as an experiment, I used to write messages, and if I put that they were from me, Andrea Foulkes, people wouldn't share them, even though they were profound messages of help. The level of sharing was very low. If I put it was from Archangel Twinkie Twonk, or, you know, made up some name like Archangel Michael or something, people would be more willing to share it. And that is really, really sad, because it's more likely to be a clear channel of information when it's coming from me. I'm not so sure who some of these beings are who claim to be something. And you look at the vibration of the person who's bringing that message through. You know, if that person hasn't healed a lot of information in themselves, they're probably not going to be a vibrational match to a very high vibrational being. And if that being hasn't had expressions of time in a physical body, they don't understand the nuances of the physical density. So their information isn't necessarily relatable to you in a physical body. So you need to have this wisdom and discernment in yourself to take that on board, because people are listening to some people who are channeling beings as if it's like Narnia fairy, and it's more like Narnia fairy stories. And it's escapism. It's escapism for the human in the physical body. It's an escapism. And it might uplift you, but you have to be wary that it's an avoidance. It's a disassociation from healing your own trauma. What is really, really going to serve you is you going inside you and you healing you. You know, use your time on earth wisely. Let somebody help you go inside yourself to figure all this stuff out. Do the homework, do the prep,